So welcome to another episode of the Women Petpreneurs podcast. I am doing a series on educators. So my guest today is Malissa Conti-Diener. Hey, Melissa.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. Great. Enjoying the beautiful weather in the early mornings here in Arizona.
I love the fact that you have so much greenery in your background. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it. But if not, she's got all these wonderful plants. Now, actually, plants come to my home, inside of my home, for hospice.
Oh, okay. I unfortunately have to have a lovely indoor menagerie of plants because in the summers here, all that grows are like my aloe and the things that can handle the intense heat of the desert. So, although my rosemary survives, most of my other stuff goes dormant. So I love to cultivate indoor house plants so I can take nature in because it is like the inner circle of the sun here in the summertime.
And I would love to have indoor plants, but I could kill a cactus.
Oh, goodness.
You know, if I bring house plants into my house, they come in kicking and screaming. No.
It's a lesson in patience for me because I'm surprise, I'm an over nurturer. So I have to stick to a schedule for watering. Otherwise I'll overwater and overfeed and do all the things too much, love them far too much. So I have to be careful because I have been known to overlove my plants and watch them disintegrate.
All right. And we're going to get into education in just a minute, because I'm thinking that might be a really good workshop on how to set up a schedule to care for indoor pets, because I'm the queen of checklists. If I had a real checklist on, well, you do it this day and this is how much water, and you just check it off, you know, I might be able to have a plant in my house.
That's right. I like you also live by lists. I have to have checklists. I'm a writer by nature. So I like to write everything out. I have to see it. And if I don't have a list, then it's out in the ether, just floating around, and I can't get to it.
Even my husband will write something on my list that he wants me to do because it's the only way it's going to get done.
Yep.
So, back to topic.
Yeah.
Right? So, how long have you been in the pet industry?
I've been a professional in the pet industry a little over 20 years now, but I grew up in the beauty industry. My parents owned beauty salons and the such. My mom was a hairdresser, but both my parents always showed dogs and cats and bred. And so I grew up with dogs and cats as a constant in my house. But I never took it seriously until probably, I would say about 20, I'm going to date myself, but about 22 years ago, maybe a teensy bit more, but we won't go there.
Yeah, I know. I have locked it off at 20 years ago, and we just leave it. We just leave it at that. I've been in the industry at 20 years.
Yeah.
Give or take.
That's a good round number, right?
And that it's a nice round number, and I'm good with that. Okay. Yeah. So I remember probably the first time you and I really had a conversation at Groom Expo.
Yep.
At the little restaurant that you can come in from the outside. And
that was my very first time at Hershey.
Was it?
Yep. Michelle Knowles took me with her.
And I had lunch with you and Michelle. And it was a wonderful experience because I felt like that lunch that we had really was the start of a great friendship between you, me, and Michelle.
Yeah, I totally believe in, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in fate. Like things are actually happening all the time, and we just need to pay attention to them. And that was a very fateful meeting that started me personally on a road that I had only dreamed of.
Yeah.
People that actually were people that I followed and that were my idols, actually became my friends, and people that I knew, and that they basically took me by the hand and introduced me to really getting out there and being a much broader educator.
Yeah.
And
So
better.
what was the decision for you to like, I want to teach? How did that decision come about?
I think a big part of it was I had a couple of surgeries, medical surgeries, because as we all know, this business beats you up, and if you are not careful, you can really hurt yourself. And I overdid it a lot for years and years, and so I was told, you have a weight limit. You can no longer work on, I used to groom for the Newfie Club of Phoenix, and like those big kids I worked on a lot. And so I couldn't do that anymore. And I had always done little classes. We used to have at my shop, we used to have like happy hour, yappy hour, and that kind of stuff. And I would teach the pet parents and do things like that. And I always would have apprentices. So when I had apprentices at my shop, I was always teaching them. And I just thought, I'm going to have to do something, because I can't just stay behind the table. And I was tired. My body was telling me it was time to do something else. My hands, I can't hand scissor like I used to. I just can't. And I had to listen to my body. And I always loved to teach. And it was a tough decision to not be grooming full time, to step away from the table, in the sense that I gave up my book, my clientele list. I sold my shop, and I went part-time and just started to try to build basically a name for myself. And Michelle was the person that said, hey, come with me. and then that's when I met you at Hershey.
Yeah. I love Michelle, by the way.
Yeah. She has been a constant in my huge career shift.
Yeah. I keep suggesting that you two ought to start a grooming school.
I know, everybody, you're not the only one that has said that. So I know.
I think you two would be like the dynamic duo, by the way.
It is a large undertaking, but it has always been on both of our vision boards, individually and together, and we have discussed it. So who knows? One day it may come to fruition.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that. And I will consistently mention that.
I know you will.
Time. Like, where are you with that?
Yes, we're still in the talking about it phase.
Okay, yeah. You need to move past that.
I know.
Okay.
We're both really we're both just really serious about wanting to help improve the industry and help improve groomers individually. We've both said on multiple occasions, we'll teach to one person or 1 million people. It doesn't make a difference to us. If we have one interested party, we're happy to show them what we've got.
Yeah. Now, you make mention of why. All right. And I think if you ask anybody that is teaching in the industry today, the catalyst for doing it is that this is a very physical job.
Yes.
Right? And we want to stay in. I love this industry. I mean, I fell into it by accident, and it was like, maybe not by accident, because how I fell into it was a help wanted sign that I had not noticed, even though it was basically permanently attached. All right. And I was in the store, I don't know, at least once a week for a long time, but it wasn't until I actually noticed it And I'm pretty sure that I had some guide or something like pushing my head. Look, see the
Yeah.
sign? See the sign. Look at the sign. Do you see it? Okay.
Sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah. All right. So, but I love this industry, and for the same reason too. You know what? My shoulders were starting to hurt. All right. And even though I did cut back on some of my larger dogs, my last two dogs that I groomed, that I have officially as a professional pet groomer, was a large, very old collie and a really big Aussie. Those were my last two dogs.
Yeah.
So I think there's so much knowledge to share.
Yes.
And I look back at, like, from the day I started to the information, that if I look like past myself and look what was available as information, all right,
Yeah.
and compare it to what is available and the changes now, it's night and day. And somebody had to teach me these changes. Okay. So if you don't think you have knowledge, you're probably incorrect on that. The industry needs good people
Oh,
to
yes.
educate the up and coming. But what I
Absolutely. And the old guard, those of us that are still in the trenches and still doing things, like I literally physically teach grooming at a grooming school. So, I still take classes and still read and just try to gain as much knowledge, because there's so many equipment changes and tool changes now, and just so many helpful things that are out there that weren't available when I first started.
and my guilty pleasure, okay, by the way, is because I do the summits for Positive Ed every month. My guilty pleasure is that every month I have about 10 hours of grooming education that
Yes.
I get to sit through, and it's wonderful. And it's
It is.
wonderful.
It is. And that's the nice thing, that I've heard other people go, oh, I want to teach, but there's already so many people in the marketplace. There's already so many people out there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we need you. We need new, fresh voices. We need
Yep.
new, fresh ideas. We need as many people out there to share what they have to say in this industry. So don't let that stop you. I have made my whole platform be about all the stuff that really hardly anybody really talks about.
Yep. And I'm going to say, and that's probably what I most admire about you, because whether we want to agree to it or not, there are standards in the pet industry as far as education is
Oh,
concerned. Okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And you know what? That's fine. As groomers and business owners, we need to have a certain amount of very, very specific education.
I agree.
It's the bread and butter of most of the trade shows. Okay?
Yep.
But at one point, there were like no business classes. Did you know that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now there's a ton of them, because the speakers, myself is one of them, was hounding them. Hey, I want to teach this class. And they're like, all right, Sunday, 3:00.
Right.
All right, this could be four
For
people
those
in the
for
class.
those that are listening that don't know, Sunday at 3:00 is like the okay, we'll stick you in this little room back here because
Yeah,
nobody.
everyone's already going home.
Yeah, everybody's going home, and they feel like, oh, nobody's really going to want to take that class, but we'll put it out there and get it seen.
Yeah, so it's seen. So you know what? They're called like niche classes. You know what?
Right.
Cats there was at one point no cat classes either.
Right.
So it's because somebody wanted to teach and presented the idea to the trade shows that, hey, I want to teach this. Okay.
Yep.
So it spurs on another group of individuals so if you think, well, it's already been taught before, whatever. No, because there's always different perspectives. I can remember Barkley doing like a Bichon day where there were like 4 or 5 different speakers coming in, each doing their version of a Bichon. It was
Right.
wonderful. Okay. But what talking about getting outside of the box. All right. And for right now, that is really you.
I
Okay.
live outside the box. I have created my own box, and which I actually like to call my awesomeness bubble. So, I really, really, really feel like a lot of the times, in The Wizard of Oz, when Glinda, the good witch, comes in and she floats in on her big giant bubble, that's me. All sparkles, all big foo-foo. That's me. I feel like that is my shtick. That is my moment. That is where I come from, because I believe what I believe, and I know that there are others out there that want that information
Yes.
and that have questions about those kind of things. And so I'm happy to share them with those people.
See, now, if someone would say to me, "Hey, do you know at this trade show, this girl in this pink fluffy sequin dress with a crown and a wand rolled into the trade show in like one of these little bouncy ball things?" I would say,
Yeah,
"Oh yeah, oh Melissa,
that's Melissa.
Melissa."
My license plate doesn't say Canine Queen for nothing. So
You know,
it's just I just feel like there's always a way to find your tribe, your people,
yeah,
those that may have an interest but just don't know where to find that particular information. So, but I live it, eat it, breathe it, work it. It's just who I am. And so some people are kind of like, that's not what I'm looking for. You're a groomer. Why don't you teach groomer things? And for me, I feel like everything is groomer things. We get so much thrown at us as a groomer. It's my hashtag more than a haircut.
yeah.
So, for me, it just really is, it really is the like you said, there's so many different facets to it, so for me, there's so many different facets to all the different things that I teach, but everything has a foundation in being balanced, of course, energy. I mean, that's everything for me. And then touch, massage, and connection, and making that kind of connection with the animal is the most important thing to me.
You know, it'd be really boring if we were all exactly the same, if
Yes.
we all dressed the same, if we all had the same interests. We're very individual, and I think that is part of being in a creative industry,
Yes.
because when you attract creative people, you're going to get creative people.
Yep.
you know and that manifests as in so many different ways. I mean, there's just like something.
Shh, girls. Sorry, Mary.
That's okay. My dogs are snoozing right now.
Well, my cat just walked across the floor and they forgot they know him. So they decided to bark at him. Noni wants to be naughty over here. Girls, leave the cat alone. Poor Black is tortured by my 9 million Shih Tzus.
Yeah. So that's it. So, tell me about the very first class you taught at a trade show.
My very first experience teaching at a trade show was actually in Michelle Knowles' class. She was doing quite a few different classes series on what is spa, and
I remember that.
yeah, and so she took me with her. That was the very first one, was the expo, Hershey, with you, when I met you. And she actually said, "Hey, I'm gonna bring you up on up front and have you talk about essential oils." And I was like, "Well, I don't really have anything prepared." And she's like, "That's fine. Just answer questions, or I'm just gonna get, Michelle. Michelle's like, 'Oh, just shut up and do it.'"
Yeah.
There's no,
And I'm pretty sure that's a direct quote. Shut up and do it.
yep. So that was just, and I got up there and I did it, and I had never done it and of course it was a packed room for Michelle Knowles. So it was a big room. It was full of groomers and it was a little intimidating, but she was so gracious and just turned the floor over to me and let me take a portion of her time to introduce some of the things that I knew about spa. And from there, I went to several other shows with her and she did the same thing. And I just caught the bug. I just
All
was
right. So
like,
you got eased into speaking.
yes. Yeah. Big stuff like that. Small things I taught at when I had my shop.
Okay. Okay. So what's your favorite class to teach? If you had one favorite class, what would it be?
My compassionate touch point therapy.
I've taken that class. It is really good.
That's my favorite class because it takes all the bits and pieces of a lot of the different things that I teach and puts it in a nice, neat little box, like it kind of checks off all those boxes because I talk about massage, I talk about energy, I talk about connecting with the pet, and how to balance your own energy and your own self and creating an environment. And so that's always my favorite thing to teach.
Okay. How long is that class, by the way?
It's a 4-hour.
Okay. Okay. Because the reason I make mention of it, because December is always the wellness summit and it's always pre-recorded because, it's December
Right.
and boomers, and you know what? I am not expecting anyone to attend a summit live
Right.
in the month of December. We're going to record it. You could watch it when you have time. So if you would you like to do the 4-hour?
I would love to do the 4-hour for the summit. That would be awesome.
Okay, so there we go. So that's 4 hours down. I got to get some more in here. So
There you go.
always working, always working.
Always, me too.
Okay.
Always accepting opportunities to work.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute too. Opportunities. Okay. Of seeing what an opportunity is that something is presented to you. All right. Or it's something you notice. So it may not be presented to you. It's just
Right.
something you notice. Okay. And like for an example, like the whole help wanted sign, Petco.
Right.
Okay. It wasn't presented to me, but I noticed it.
Right.
Okay. Notice the opportunity. Right. The same thing is with speaking opportunities. Hey, all right. Can you teach this? All right. Or somebody makes mention, hey, I don't know I don't know the difference between an essential oil and a hydrosol. That's in your
Right.
wheelhouse. Okay. All right. And then you're like, well, that would make a really good workshop. Just like I said, hey, I need a checklist on how to care for plants.
Right.
Might that not be a good workshop to do?
I think it would be. I think there's plenty of people that have the desire to have houseplants even in their shops.
In their shops. I
Yeah.
had, you know what? I had them in my mobile van for as long as I could keep them. They
Right.
actually did pretty good in my van.
Probably because of the moisture.
Probably because
content.
the moisture in the air.
Yeah.
Okay. But then again, you know what? We could also add that to the wellness summit. Just saying.
Okay. I will have to put something together.
Okay, we'll talk more after the podcast is actually over with.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Um, so where was I? Get sidetracked. Opportunities. Okay. So an opportunity, if you have an opportunity to work with somebody, okay, on how to put a workshop together, because for some people I know that they have all this knowledge, they don't know how to put it in a format to actually teach.
Right.
Okay. That's where some continuing education comes in.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So in that case, Melissa, have you not taken an early version of my get out there and teach type class?
Yes. Yes, I have. Yeah. Well, you again, Michelle was my catapult. She pulled back that big, that big rubber band and let go and catapulted me into it. And then Mary, you caught me.
Yeah.
And you said, okay, you're out here. This is what you need to be doing. And this is, this is how you put this together. Cause I was just flying through the air like, this is great, but I'm not quite sure how I get all this together. You literally caught me and you were like, okay, let's just do this.
Right. So the point being is that you can teach. It's a skill, just like scissoring is a skill. Okay. Learning how to put a Bichon trim is a skill. Learning how to balance your books is a skill. Teaching is a skill, and it is a learnable skill. So even if you think that, oh, I can't do it, I'm going to tell you, yes, you can.
Yeah. If you have that, I believe in purpose. I believe that everybody has a purpose. Everything is created with a purpose. And so I truly believe if you feel like you have that inkling, that little voice that's saying, oh, I think I would like to teach, or teaching is something that I have an interest in. To me, that's your purpose talking to you. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I will say this till the day they light my funeral pyre. I am an adequate groomer. I am not a phenomenal show groomer, competitive groomer, but that's never been my purpose. And I've always known that was never my purpose. I can turn out a really cute pet haircut. Don't get me wrong, but that was never my greater purpose. My greater purpose was to actually want to work with the animal and to connect with the animal. And I always wanted to share that portion of my purpose with whoever would stand there and listen to me.
Yeah.
So if somebody has that feeling that this really feels right to me, like I'm an amazing scissor person. I can scissor up like nobody's business. And I'd like to show other people my tips and tricks and how I can do this. Doesn't matter if there's 10 other people doing that in the marketplace. Yeah. You probably have something that's a little bit different because you're a little bit different than the other 10 people that are in the marketplace.
Exactly. And just like, it's just like when I say with competition. All right. So if you look like when I lived in Danbury, right? So that was my market for grooming. Okay.
Right.
There was 9,000 licensed dogs in the city of Danbury. That's not the unlicensed dogs. That's not the cats. That's not the surrounding towns. Okay. Right. If all I considered to be a client was you had to be a licensed dog in the city of Danbury, that's 9,000. I can't groom 9,000.
Yeah.
They're going to be attracted to me for a different reason.
Right.
Okay. And those are the clients I want. Those are the clients who want me and how I do things rather than somebody else. Yep. If somebody wanted a technical groom, more along the lines of a show groom, I was not the groomer for them.
Right.
I could refer out somebody else who was way better than that. But the point being is, when you're true to yourself, whether you're grooming or teaching, there's a market for you.
Yes. And I do have to say this, that for a long time early in my career, I was voracious about watching other groomers and reading as many books as I could get. And then when YouTube really was out there and people started actually posting videos on there, and I would go to these shows and take the continuing ed classes, and I tried so hard to be that of what I admired. And then little by little, I realized my skills actually did improve, but I had to embrace who I was and what I was and what I had to offer, and stop trying to be like so-and-so or do what so-and-so does it this way. And I just had to step into who I was. And that took a little time.
Right. And it's an example, right? So me and Melissa are going to teach a class together, right? And if Melissa comes in that bouncy ball dressed in a pink wand, you're going to be, okay, that's Melissa. Okay. But if I'm in that same class and I'm in that pink sparkly dress with a wand and yeah, no.
I'm sorry, just the vision is
Seriously, no, that is not going to happen.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So be
don't
yourself.
don't try to be anybody else.
Be yourself. You will attract the people who are there because it's who you are. All
Well,
right.
it's your I think it's also your confidence level. I think
Yeah.
that has a lot to do with it, because when you feel like you're confident about who you are and what you have to offer, people gravitate towards that.
Yeah.
So, and pet parents especially, because they want a confident person. They want somebody that is going to say, well, that's great. We can work towards that haircut, but today we're going to have to go with this, so that they can understand boundaries and they can understand realistic expectations. And
Yeah.
so they really look to us for a lot of different things without verbalizing it. And you have to take that initiative.
Right. And just as an example of this, so back when I worked corporate, there was me and there was two other wishy-washy, no strong boundaries groomers, right?
Right.
Same customer. All right. So not even a different customer, same customer would come in. I would groom the dog. They would not give me a hard time. They would do exactly what I told them to do and be happy. Okay. The other two would get walked all over.
Right.
All right. And that is because I had really good, I'm in charge boundaries,
Right.
and they did not. And we are talking the same person.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And that's where you have to be. You have to own your space. You have to own your knowledge. You know, you may not be the most educated. You may not have taken a ton of extra classes or done a lot of extracurricular things, but you've done some. So own that knowledge that you have invested in yourself.
Yeah.
And
And
don't feel lesser.
and you just have to teach what you're teaching.
Right.
Okay. So, for example, right, I could teach a class on how to do a nice little pet trim on a Bichon, and I could teach that.
Right.
All right. But what I cannot teach is a class on how to do a show Bichon.
Right.
Okay. But that's not what I'm teaching. What I'm teaching is what I know.
Right.
Okay. And there's a difference. There's somebody else who could teach something else, but that's not, as long as you are clear in what it is that you are actually teaching and you teach the thing you say you're going to teach. That is what's important.
Yeah. And I think that you really have to believe in it. You have
Yeah.
to believe in what you have to say is valid and is important to someone. May not be everyone, but someone will benefit from what you have to say.
Because I think about it, I took a class and some of the elders and I might like grimace a little bit at this right now, but I can remember learning, okay, that if you put a 40 blade on a clipper and then go over the pads of the feet, you don't have to scissor them and run the risk of an injury. That was something that was very eye-opening to me when I learned it.
Right. And how many people have you passed that on to?
Exactly. So, but the point being is, you might think that is so basic. Everybody knows that. No, not everybody knows that, because, like I said, and that was not even in a class. It was someone in passing at a trade show that we were talking about whatever conversation we had struck up.
Right.
And oh, by the way, instead of scissoring the pads, it probably was at a booth for scissors.
Right.
Put a 40 blade on it. Then you don't have to worry about,
Cutting the pad or
cutting the
yeah.
pad.
Yep. Well, people are, I don't know. I think sometimes people shy away from teaching because they feel like, oh, well, everybody out there is already so educated, or they know so much and they don't want what I have to say or whatever. But this industry is continuously changing and bringing in new, and people going out, people coming in, and it is a very transient industry where people move in and out and through. Some of us absolutely love it. People ask me all the time, what would you be? I think I'm freezing.
You froze a little bit, but that's okay.
Okay. So, what would you be if you weren't a groomer? And I honestly don't know how to answer that question, because it is such a huge part of who and what I am. I'm going to maybe if I shut my camera off, but it's not letting me. It's just,
all right.
You can still hear me though, right?
I can still hear you. It's fine.
Right. Sorry, we lost the video.
That's all right. You've got a cute, funny face there. So it's not terrible. It's not a terrible frozen face. Okay. So anyway.
Okay.
So tell me about some of the programs that you are out there teaching right now.
Right now I have, I'm going to be at the Rocky Mountain Pet Expo in July, and I am doing the newest, most updated version of my compassionate touchpoint therapy class.
Okay.
I have that coming up, and then obviously I'm doing it for you in December. And
well, here's the thing. Have you thought about possibly setting up a camera to record it?
Yeah, that's actually was one of my ideas, and I actually bought myself a little tripod for to be able to do that. So I'm thinking I want to definitely record it. I definitely want to put it up on my site so that it can be something that at leisure for groomers that are interested in it. That I have coming up on my website right now. I have the intuitive energy work for the pet groomer, which is just that, learning about intuitive energy work. It of course always encompasses massage, along with different principles. Reiki is something that I am trained in, as well as several other energy work modalities. So I have kind of made my own energy work stew and how I utilize those things. And from there, that's available on my website, and that's a pre-record.
Okay, what's your website?
theoilygroomer.com.
Okay,
all
good.
one word. And then I also I have the business boot camp, the Holistic Groomers Business Boot Camp on Positive Ed, which is a self-guided. So that's on yours. What's your website, Mary?
Positiveed.com. There's 2 E's there.
Yeah. And the 16th of July, I actually have a new class that I have been developing now for about a year. And it's called Transitional Therapy. And it's for the pet professional. And it talks about transitioning pets, euthanasia, working with the elderly, the infirm, pets that are needing to be in palliative or hospice style care, how you talk to your customers about these things, how we deal with the fact that a lot of times we groom a pet from the time it's a puppy all the way up until it's senior age. And now the owners come to you and want to talk to you about what your opinion is on euthanasia, or how do we broach that subject. Or so it's a tough subject, but I think it's an important subject to go over, and how we can assist these animals to actually transition and do so gracefully. I've been present in quite a few of the transitions, whether it's been euthanasia or being there at the home when they pass, or a home euthanasia where the vet comes to the house. And while it is a extremely sad situation to see them go, I believe that nothing dies, energy only changes form, and we
Mhm.
are energy. So I know that their purpose has been served for this time, and they're moving on to their higher good, their next job.
Mhm.
So, and I believe that animals come to us with a purpose and with a job. Um, there is no mistakes. There's a purpose there for everything. So that's my newest one. And I'm super excited about that one.
Okay. Okay. Where do you see yourself? Where would you like to be in the pet industry as far as education is concerned?
I would love to be the person that starts a whole bunch of other people starting these kind of conversations about energy, about massage, about essential oils, about alternative uh, modalities, and to
Okay.
have groomers be a little bit more cognizant of the fact that they are affecting an emotional being that's on their table.
Okay. All right. I like that, by the way.
Oh, okay. I'll take that. I'll take
Take that.
Mary's thumbs up on that one.
Okay. All right. So I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. I
Oh, thank you.
appreciate it. Oh, and we lost Melissa. So not sure if she's gonna be able to jump back on or not. But anyway, so join me next week when I interview another educator, specifically Michelle Knowles, who's making a difference in the pet industry.